G'day everybody, how are you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope you are super well. I'm standing on the top of a mountain. I'm over 4,000 feet or 1,300 meters above sea level. And I've just spent the weekend at the Bright Festival of Photography, catching up with some old friends and meeting some new friends. The Bright Festival of Photography is something very special, and its reputation is now exceeding Australia's shorelines, and there were people from overseas who joined the festival. So I don't know, perhaps one day you can come down to Bright, which is just this extraordinary, I'll get out of the frame for a second because it's just this absolutely extraordinary landscape. And this is the backdrop of this festival. Now, I also caught up with the Tamron representatives in Australia. They're known as Blonde Robot. That's the name of the company. And I'm pleased to share that they will be lending me the 150 to 500mm f5 to 6.7 for Nikon Z mount, which was announced globally today. Now, like the 35 to 150 f2 to 2.8, a lens that I love from Tamron, which was recently released, here we have another lens which has a unique set of specifications, but I think is a very powerful option for those who want to get a lot of lens in quite a small package. We can see here the highlights that Tamron points out: uncompromising image quality throughout the entire range, high speed, high precision AF. This lens does have vibration compensation for stabilization, which is really helpful once you get out at these sort of focal lengths. Anything beyond, I think, 250 to 300mm, it's very difficult for an in-body image stabilization unit to be helping beyond that. It has a minimum focus distance of 0.6 of a meter, 60 centimeters or 23.6 inches when shooting at its widest setting. And this lens on an APS-C body gives us the 225 to 750mm field of view equivalent. Now, of course, this can go on a Z30, a Z50 or a ZFC, the current line of Z-mount APS-C cameras. But of course, it can go on a Z6, Z7, Z8 or Z9. With those last three cameras, you still get 19 megapixels, which is almost the same as the Z30, the Z50 and the ZFC. Of course, there are some users who are interested in a replacement for the D500. And this sort of lens, if that camera ever comes along, will be perfect for that sort of camera. I look forward to getting a copy of this lens in my hands sometime in the next week or so, and we will take it through its paces. So I just very quickly wanted to talk about the fact that we have yet another new Z lens. Very exciting. It's from Tamron. It's a 150 to 500, which is similar to the old 200 to 500 from the F mount. This lens, of course, has been on the Sony E mount for a little while, as well as the Fuji X mount. And Sony E mount users love this lens for its size, weight, versatility, and price. And of course, Sony users demand high-speed focusing motors, and Tamron does not let them down. This is a fast focusing lens. Fantastic. Well, this is a very exciting new lens from Tamron, native Z mount. And I think a lot of people will be excited about this option in the range. Now, we can find this lens on Adorama, and the US price appears to be $1,599 US. They're known as Blonde Robot. That's the name of the company. And they put in my hands this lens right here. Now, you may have heard about this lens roughly a year ago. This is a 70 to 300 4.5 to 6.3 zoom lens for Z mount. Now, it is out for other mounts, which is exciting. But now, and it has been for the last year or so, it is out for Z. And this is the very first time I've tried it. They gave it to me at the festival, and here I am up this mountain. I thought, what a great place to be able to get really super duper close up and things that are a long way away. And yes, so I've been starting to shoot with it. It's very close focusing. This is how close it is here. And the focus, the AF, changes quickly and gets us out to say 10 or 15 kilometers away on the other side of this valley. Super fast, super snappy. Now this lens is small. We've got it here on the Z8. You can see it's small, and when I first picked it up, it felt very light and compact. Now it is, I would say, pretty much made up of composites. And of course, to keep the size and weight down, we have to make it a telescoping lens. So there it is there, a telescoping lens. Now I've talked about telescoping lenses before. There are professional lenses fully, it doesn't matter what brand you're looking at, whether it's Sony, Nikon, Canon, and so on. They do have their top of the range lenses that telescope like this. And I've always said, look, a lens that telescopes, it's got a higher chance of impact damage because this is telescoping out, and also the ingress of moisture and fine dust. And that's just a thing to think about. What it allows for is this lens to be about 30% smaller because you can retract it in. You're not building a housing to protect that part. There is a trade-off. I'm sure lens manufacturers do everything they can to ensure ingress doesn't happen, but I suspect it's not the same as a fully sealed lens. It just sort of can't be. That to me is the only downside of this lens. It is light, it is affordable, and as I said, it comes now in the Z mount. So you can pop this on your Z50, and on a Z50 it'll be a 105 to 450 mils. Z50, Z30, ZFC. Or if you're in any of the full frame cameras and you're in APS-C/DX mode. That's the field of view you will get if you're cropped or on a cropped sensor. This is an affordable lens. Is it going to be as optically good as an S-line lens? No, it's not, but you're not paying for that. The 70 to 180 2.8, I suspect, is a higher performing lens than this one, and certainly the S-Class 70 to 200 2.8 is most certainly a higher performance lens when it comes to coatings, weather sealing, and general build quality and robustness. But that's okay. Again, we get what we pay for. That lens is something like 4 times more expensive, depending on where you are and what deals are going on, than this lens right here. So who's it for? Well, it's for anybody, but I suppose it's mostly aimed at travel enthusiasts, bird photographers, wildlife photographers. You can shoot sports, but in lower light, it might start to get a little bit difficult. Hobbyists and so on, amateurs and hobbyists. I suppose the biggest drawback of a lens with this focal length and of this size is those apertures. You are out at 6.3. Now look, that's not the end of the world, of course. We've recently had the 180 to 600, which also goes from 5.6 to 6.3. So sure, plenty of lenses have it. Of course, that lens is 600 mils at 6.3. This is 300 mils at 6.3, but very, very different when it comes to size. So this is great for making up a kit. It's not a lens that exists from anywhere else, from Nikon or any other manufacturer for native Z mount. So it's a great opportunity to use this. A zoom ring, and we have a general programmable ring here, which can do aperture and other things. It's interesting, I think almost every lens I have has one of these. I tend to not use them. I tend to use these back and front dials for pretty much everything, but they're there. And there's absolutely no other switches on here. And there's this USB-C port here. All right, well, let's have a look at what this lens looks like. It's very, very close focusing. I'd love to know your thoughts on the 70 to 300 4.5 to 6.3 Tamron for Z mount. Is this a lens that you are interested in? Would you consider buying it? let me know in the comments below. It's been so good to see you. Please like this video, and if this is your first time here, I'd love to see you again. So please do subscribe, please share, and do please like. All right, I'll catch you later.